Morning. This lady behind me is making my coffee.ถ่ายรูปชีวิตทั่วไปส่งให้ญาติดู
ส่งให้ญาติดูเหรอประเทศอะไร
อังกฤษ
เหรอ
ครับมาแล้วมาดูแล้วคิดถึงเดี๋ยวมาอีกฮะอ๋อบ้านยวนอ๋อเนี่ยบ้านตากอากาศครับ
กี่วันยันฮะขอบ
คุณครับDogs doing their thing, kids going to school. Yeah. There's a three-legged dog down there. Hello, mate. Alright. Three-legged dog down here. Still chases cars and bikes. Who knows he's got 3 legs. Oh, lie. Hello, fellows researchers, debaters and debunkers. I'm at a loss. What do you say? What do you show? What do you to deniers? Those defenders of the globe that just say you're wrong. And then it's just endless. I mean. Just this morning, I had my first, comment from maybe a rare comment from a guy who, he had a genuine question about how come, I see the sun set in the way it does from my high vantage point over the sea. And I sent him a couple of links to videos that explain. And he still kind of wasn't getting it, the whole perspective and vanishing thing. But the difference with this guy, that he was trying. He's like, look, I'm really open to it, or open to just new discoveries, etc. But I can't see this one. I'm not sure how I can't justify it. So I just said, hey man, you know, there's no need for me to say much. You're obviously looking into it. You'll just keep looking and comparing all those little factoids we're taught to go with the heliocentric model, and you know, compare them, put them into a big picture, and see if they actually fit. And, you know, I suppose that's what all of us do, don't we? We go through all these little things that we're told, and then you will hang on. If it's said to be like this, how come it's not like that when you do this? Whatever it might be. But I can see, you know, my daughter, primary school now, and of course they're starting to teach them about the globe and the sun. So, you know, recently, until then, it was obvious to her that, you know, without any prompting from me, that the sun goes around the earth. You know, she said it was an obvious thing from her own observations. And now, because the people in authority, the teachers, or a teacher, is telling her it's you know, we're on a ball spinning around the sun, now there's conflict in her head. And it's not necessarily a conflict of logic. It's a conflict of the fact that the people that she's come to respect and obey orders from are now teaching her something which is different to what, you know, Dad thinks, or has come to believe from his own observations. And this is, you know, so that's at a young age it started. I mean, my recent interview with Patricia, I said I was happy with the school system. I mean, as far as them not interfering too much with you know, family life, but they do teach family values, and it's all good. And you know, most Thai kids grow up to be respectful people, and you know, they respect their elders, and you know, there's a good sense of community for the most part. And a lot of that is, of course, down to the family and the schooling. So that's, you know, it's cool in that respect. But at the end of the day, when your kids go to school, no matter what culture it is, or even just the culture they're brought up in, it's going to set their mind in a particular way. Even if they rebel against that culture, it's still a specific viewpoint because of that culture. So, you know, you see the same old arguments from these, and it just gets so tiring. And, you know, all they want to do is point out that you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. Because of math. Mostly because of math, and then they, you know, maybe they work with computers or something, and they're pretty smart in that mathematical department. So of course, you know, again, it comes back to this, you know, what's your reality, and what makes you feel comfortable? Well, you know, mathematicians and what have you, they're comfortable with predictions and circles and, you know, statistics and things like that. It gives you a sense of comfort. But on a human level, you never know how you're going to react to a situation. You know, that just human nature takes constant observance. You know, a kind of like a arm's length look at yourself and the rest of society to actually try and see how things happen. Things take hold. You know, it's funny how a crowd can take on a mentality of its own. And again, this is something that's used by those in power. Just directing the stage show the way they want things to go. They get people arguing about this and that. And they don't care on your political views, they just don't care. It doesn't make any difference to them at all. You can't vote people in and out of power. It's just an illusion. You know, they give you that because then you imagine that you've got choice. And then, you know, you get people that are aghast when you say, well, don't vote then, you know. Don't know what's happening here. So, yeah, I guess it, you know, flat Earth can drain your energy because you're constantly trying to explain things to people that refuse to see it. Well, what can you do or say? At the end of the day, it's their loss, right? You know. They assume you're an idiot, they assume you don't know geometry, they assume you don't know this or that, and just assume their own cleverness and superiority over you. And that's the whole reason the whole heliocentric thing was able to take hold in the first place, because you've got people with superiority complexes, you know, people that you look at the scientific community, man. Look at how names are attached to discoveries or certain things. You know, it's like look at the Higgs boson, the God particle. I mean, for crying out loud, you know, they hype it up. They hype it up, and you can see when they kind of make these announcements. You know, you've got these guys pumping the air with glee. You know, much like the people who imagined that they'd sent spaceships up into space. You know, they're so overcome with their own emotion, they can't detach themselves from it, and even perceive that it might all be just a blag. I mean, there's no way. I mean, they're so involved, and it's their living, it's their life. You know, so they're not gonna give that up willingly, are they? You know. I have a back and forth with a close friend, and yeah, I'm a moron. I just don't know. You don't know how it works. You don't know. And even if you try to explain that, I've been, you know, no, it's not that I don't know. I've looked at everything, and it wasn't until looking at everything that I came to a decision. You know, and that's personal observations. But again, you know, all these people quoting other sources, you know, in defense of the globe, whether it's math or whatever it is, and you know, you can even point out to them, you know, fish, just mention fish. Okay, how do fish, how come fish aren't affected by gravity? And they say buoyancy. I say, there you go. Buoyancy and density. It's all you need. Gravity has no effect on them. And then they'll talk about gravity being the weak force. And of course, this is again the banker's scam, right? You know, 1 kilogram is 9.98 newtons. So what does that leave you left over with? It leaves you with 0.02 newtons. Yeah? A difference that you cannot weigh on most scales for everyday purposes. Yeah? The only people measuring things to that, do you know what I mean? It's the banker's scam. Cut a little percent off, shave a little bit off, and they won't notice. You know, it's what they do all the time. Whether it's with loans or whatever it is, you know, all those little fractions of a pence. When you're talking about 10,000 people, million people, whatever, well, of course, you know, for the banker, for you, it doesn't mean nothing. It doesn't mean anything. You know, you can't even, it doesn't, you know, they give you a 1 pence coin, but that 1 pence can be divided up into 100. Yeah? So the banker can take, 50 parts of that 1 pence off each person who's got a bank account. I mean, that's how they make millions in a day, in a minute. Just shave a little bit off. And we don't look, do you? Maybe you do, but most people don't scrutinize their bank accounts that much. You see the decimal point and it's a 7.6 or a 5.4 or whatever, and whatever, you know. But then you're not thinking, are you? You're not thinking about if the bankers swindled me for a quarter of a pence. You're not going to bother chasing. You're not even going to notice for a start, and then you're not even going to bother writing a letter to the bank, because then they'll charge you to write a letter back. You know, so then it becomes a battle of principles. You know, it's a banker's world. It's a banker's world. Yeah, everything about it is about money, trade, and stitching us all up. Isn't it? Think about it. We all moan about the taxes we have to pay and the cost of living going up and this and that and what have you. Do we ever think, I'm actually going to do something about it? No, you feel powerless. You feel the only power you have is to bloody moan. Because what happens if you don't pay your taxes, or you don't do that? Or what if you said, okay, I'll pay taxes, right? But I will pay, okay, I want to make sure that the money I pay goes towards healthcare, helping the aged, building homes for the homeless, feeding the homeless, and job creation scheme, whatever, you know. No military spending. I don't want my tax money. You know what I mean? We, in any democracy, you should have the choice of where the money that you donate to the community goes. Yeah, but as far as paying taxes, what are you doing? Well, you're just you're just paying to keep the institution alive that keeps on stitching you up. It's the mafia, isn't it? It's the mafia. And what do they take away from you? What do they take away from you if you don't pay? Time. They take away your time. You can't have time. You can't use your free will in your time. Yeah. So, the whole thing's a bloody scam. Life could be so different. And of course, you don't see it. If you're not introduced to alternative possibilities, then it's quite difficult to see. I keep saying, you know, it took me still every day. I'm still adapting to the culture here, right? You know, I mean, it's 20 years I've been here, but I still come across things which I have to stop and think, okay, yeah, that's maybe whatever. That's not socially acceptable, or that's a bit, you know, whatever. So it's only until you're forced to think and, you know, to humble yourself that you can actually take on new beliefs. I'm kind of feel unlucky. I've had it forced upon me by being in a very different culture. But then again, I couldn't wait to get out of what I felt was a very restrictive culture where I come from. So yeah, who knows if it would have worked out any differently. But man, I admire anyone who's, like, you know, still in the environment they were brought up in and haven't traveled maybe, but they can still see that things could be different, or beliefs could be different, or the generally accepted way, you know. And again, all you defenders of the globe, if flat earthers were saying the earth is made of cheese, you'd just laugh and ignore it, wouldn't you? You know, that would be just obviously stupid and ridiculous. But the thing is, you make it a mission to defend the globe for all it's worth. You fight tooth and nail for it. So all you've got to do is detach yourself and look at why. Why is it such an important issue to you? If people were saying the moon is made of cheese, it wouldn't be an important issue, because that's simply ridiculous. Yeah? So just think of that. If you're defending the globe, think about why. Think about what it means to you. Think about, well, you already know, you do think about it, that's why you set out to defend it, but, you know, you're scared. You're scared that, you know, or maybe you're a kind of, like, stubborn kind of person who, wants people they can go through their whole lives being stubborn about how they think the world is or should be, and they will die that way. And I, you know, just feel sorry. You can't. It's a shame when people don't allow themselves to explore. I'm thinking of one person in particular who, the extent of his questioning reality was to consider how strange it was that, well, I could look at a colour and call it yellow, but how do I know that you're seeing the same colour as me? And that's a really good kind of, like, you know, assessment of the individual perspective. But that's as far as it would go. There was no if I'd said to that person the world is flat, the earth is flat, that would have been an argument and a half. But it would have ended with, you know, that person just storming off, unable to process the information, just unable. So they lock you in young. The conditioning starts young. And of course, it's not that everyone's lying. Teachers aren't lying. They just intentionally, they're just you know, that's what they're taught. I mean, when you were at school, did they ever tell you to measure the sun? Did they ever get you doing that? It would be the most obvious thing to measure with trigonometry, yeah? Because it's like, you know, it's something that you wouldn't, you know, any teacher could prove the usefulness of trigonometry by saying, hey, let's go out and measure the sun, let's measure the angle to the sun, you know, and that would create an awareness in the students and they would start looking. But that's not part of the syllabus, is it? That's it's not something kids are encouraged to do as part of their learning. They're not encouraged to question like that. Or if they are encouraged to question, it's within a certain framework that will ensure they arrive at a particular answer.